Productivity increases is the ability to, well, it's the changing of conditions so that you can create more economic value. A lot of the things in Europe in particular that are required to increase productivity are changes in conditions that happen in our cities. And what the European network of ICLEI has been doing now for 25 years is working with member municipalities to innovate in all kinds of ways to improve productivity in the cities, to improve health outcomes, to make energy use more efficient, to grow food locally, to be more inclusive. So all of these innovations, I argue, now need to be brought together so that every time we do a redevelopment project in a city, we achieve all of those objectives in one instance, and I call that urban productivity. Rather than just implementing one specific agenda or objective, we optimize the assets, the performance of the assets in terms of the benefits they provide and in terms of the outcomes for the people of the city. Well, the traditional model of local government is that largely they're the regulators and service providers, and then the investment in the city largely comes from the private sector. And the private sector, particularly property development, has been very focused in on just producing outputs. They produce roads, they produce pipes, they produce buildings. And this relationship of focused on an output-oriented economy hardly gets the value and the benefits out of the assets that are created in a city. So even in Europe, I say, our cities are largely underdeveloped. We have these assets, but we're actually not using them to produce resources. We're not using them in ways that are necessarily productive for the people that live and work in them. And so an urban productivity agenda involves the local government with the private sector and with civil society putting together partnerships or even broader alliances that focus not only on what kind of building we need or what kind of solar panel we need on the roof, but making sure that it's managed in such a way that it gets optimal energy generation, or that the building performs to its highest standard, and even beyond that, that the people who work in the building have the most productive workday or have the healthiest home life. And so when we look at the city holistically on the basis of an alliance, what we do is we manage the outcomes for the entire city rather than just being very narrowly focused on giving an approval or making an investment in another building that will be rented out to somebody else who may or may not have a productive life. And so municipalities typically have been the ones who pull these partnerships and alliances together and manage the coordination of efforts all the way from the design of a building or of a neighborhood, all the way through to its occupancy by commercial tenants or by households that live there, and all the way to the provision of services and education and support of those people or in those businesses to achieve the best outcomes. And so I call that an outcomes-oriented economy as opposed to an output-oriented economy. Now that we already know what the solutions are that will generate sustainable outcomes, what we need to do is at the next level is look at all of the impediments to implementing them and change our policies and our practices, our standards, so that they support the scaling up of these things. And once the policy environment is there, then we need to build the business partnerships and the alliances with civil society in order to demand the new things. And it's a kind of a three-stage process. Test the solution, create an enabling environment, and then build the alliance that will demand it and support it as it's implemented.